there's two advantages Milwaukee has matching up with Brooklyn.
What advantage?
I just named number one.
Giannis is not an advantage.
Number two, they have excellent perimeter shooting and excellent perimeter defense.
Where is the excellent perimeter shooting?
You have Holiday.
Vincenzo?
You have Brook Lopez.
Holiday is not an excellent perimeter shooter.
Bro, do you watch basketball that's not?
Holiday is an excellent perimeter shooter. Yeah, man. A lot of people are, just writing their championship, name. They're writing their name on the championship this year. Do you guys think it's pretty much over?
No. It's never over in the NBA.
Do you think they're making it to the finals guaranteed?
Well, I'll say this. Milwaukee possesses a pretty tough matchup for them.
You think so?
Yeah.
I saw that Milwaukee-Brooklyn game this year.
Brooklyn doesn't have anybody who can stop Giannis.
No, I want to stop that. I want to stop that.
Bubba's been a Giannis hater.
No, I'm not. No, that's not fair.
The mainland.
They have two.
When it gets down in the fourth quarter, is a defense you play against Giannis, and he doesn't. It's nothing he can do to alter that defense ever. I'm not a big fan of Giannis, man. I'm not a big fan.
There's two advantages Milwaukee has matching up with Brooklyn.
What advantage?
I just named number one.
Giannis is not an advantage.
Number two, they have excellent perimeter shooting and excellent perimeter defense.
Where is the excellent perimeter shooting?
You have Holiday.
Vincenzo?
You have Brook Lopez.
Holiday is not an excellent perimeter shooter.
Bro, do you watch basketball that's not?
Holiday is an excellent perimeter shooter.
He's better than Eric Bledsoe, which is what they have.
Oh, of course, but I mean, if that's your your bar.
You have Chris Middleton and you have Lopez, who is
Chris is an excellent
You've
mid
been a
range.
Middleton guy for a long time. You're not going to run away from that now.
Huh?
You're a Middleton guy for a long time. You're not going to run away from that now.
Yeah, Middleton is an excellent mid-range shooter. I like Middleton.
Yeah.
I do like Middleton.
I'm not saying that Milwaukee can. I'm not going out on a limb and saying Milwaukee's going to beat them. I'm just saying
that's
it's
a very small limb.
It's a very tough matchup for Brooklyn. And
It's
it's
not a tough matchup.
Okay. All right. Well,
Is there anybody else that you think can give in the East that can give Brooklyn a decent run here?
No.
Well, I was going to get to you, Daryl, in a second.
I mean, I want to say Philadelphia, but I just don't think that they have the pieces.
Even the homer doesn't think Philadelphia's going to do this.
Really, yeah. I don't think.
Who does?
You.
Of course we're going to the finals.
Well,
of course.
Brooklyn ain't got nobody that can stop Embiid. Now, neither does anybody else. But health is the big question. But I'm just not. With Brooklyn, I think two things. I think they're devoid of elite wing defense, and there's a lot of guys who all of a sudden you have to keep happy there. LaMarcus Aldridge, he was with the Spurs, and while that's the definition of team basketball, he was always a first or second option up until this year. And then when he got shuttered to the bench and his role diminished, all of a sudden they got rid of him. And when the Spurs get rid of you, like something's an issue.
Right.
Yeah. And then I just don't know if we know that these signings are making a big stir, but like can Blake Griffin at this stage of his career be a efficient playoff contributor?
See, I like Brooklyn for the big three.
Yeah.
And that's why, to me, they're so dangerous. I think the acquisitions of Aldridge, of Blake, and even going back to DeAndre Jordan, they don't overwhelm me. These are not the same players that they were 4 or 5 years ago. And there's some realities to what they can
But do they have to be?
As players. They don't have to be, but there's some realities as to what they can and can't do. And I do think from a team standpoint, is there going to be a proper buy-in? But again, those top three guys, if healthy, are so damn good, it may not truly matter. But Darryl, what is your thought on what's going on?
I'm with one on if some team beats Brooklyn in the East is Milwaukee.
That's the only one you think has a shot.
Because
Gross.
I do believe in Drew Holiday, and I don't know why Bubba doesn't.
Rome,
I love Drew. I love J. Rule.
Rome hasn't watched Drew Holiday since he left Philly.
No, I love J. Rule.
and he's,
We call him J. Rule. I love J. Rule.
Okay, yeah.
J. Rule is one of my favorite players, but he's not an excellent perimeter shooter.
Because when that fourth quarter comes, he can make the plays.
No, and he's
not,
a two-way.
And not Giannis.
Yeah.
Right. And
That's
so,
true.
but looking at it, man, Brooklyn's that's a tough out.
they got a lot of talent.
They got a lot.
And the crazy thing is, like, all this to try to beat LeBron,
Correct.
which is, I mean, it's quite remarkable to think about. And for Kevin Durant and James Harden's and Kyrie Irving's sake, for the sake of their legacies, they better get it done.
Yeah, they can't. They
They can't fail with this.
Yeah.
Right, you're right.
What a terrible move by Houston, though. You know, they had Ben Simmons on the on the table. You know, it was on the table, and what
Ben
they
Simmons
got,
is a franchise player, mind you.
what they got for James Harden. I mean, that's
It's
going to
shocking.
set their franchise back.
It's already said they lost 20 games. They lost 20 games in a row this year at one point. I mean, come
That was
on.
I
shocking.
mean, for
and
15
the thing
years.
is, like, they don't have. I mean, I look at Houston's roster, and when they're healthy, and I know they were missing Christian Wood, like, they don't have a bad roster in terms of losing 20 games in a row. Like, they got some dudes who can play there, and
Yeah.
I wonder if it's a call from the organization. It's like, hey, man, we better get a top 3 draft pick. Otherwise, some heads are gonna roll.
I mean, I just feel like the way the Harden thing went down at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
If they had traded him before camp, I think they would have approached the season differently. They would have had a
Right.
better vibe.
Right.
I think his desire and moves to get traded really sucked the life out of that group.
Yeah.
And it just got handicapped them from the start, and they never recovered. It got injuries, and it just, again, you start looking at the standings. You're not in the mix to do anything. It's
Yeah.
hard to get motivated.
It's
It's
going-
easy to feel like I got some back spasms tonight. I can't go. Coach.
It's gonna be a very significant issue for Houston going forward. Because I'll tell you this, it's a small league, and Daryl will tell you these players. They talk to other players, and players and agents and people who make these decisions when it comes to free agency or going to a place, they know what what organizations do right by their players. Like, I'll give you
Right.
an example. Like, with the Magic this week, I was told by a very good source that they consulted with all the players they traded as to where their destinations were going to be. Like, they weren't going to trade Vucevic to Houston or Minnesota. You know what I'm saying? Because that's
Right.
at this point, that's not a situation where they could thrive in. So they traded him to a place like Chicago where, yeah, they can make the playoffs. Yeah, he's going to have a chance to, to maybe contend for a title at some point. I don't think it's going to be this year with them, but he's going to be using the rest of his prime to
try to win.
be in a winning situation.
Right.
People take note of that. So the reason I say it's going to be an issue for Houston is everybody around the league, publicly and privately, sees how Houston handled this situation, right? And it probably wasn't the best from a public standpoint. Privately, I don't know a lot of the intricacies that went down, but if I'm a free agent this year, I look at the way Houston handled the Harden situation and how some of the other players have spoken about the situation in the past and the ownership, and you're probably have Houston on the low end of your priority list if you're a free agent.
Right,
Is,
right.
is
Well, I
I
mean,
guess what I'm trying to
Daryl
say.
Morey moves on to Philadelphia. He was kind of the architect of that. I thought even in the last year and a half, the owner Fertitta got a little too vocal on
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't like that. Prior to that, he maintained a lower profile, and I just think when he started to insert himself in the media, I don't think it helped the situation. I don't think he came off with more class or more, kind of credibility. And I don't think that that's something that's going to help how your organization.
And to
proceeds.
Juan's point, like even before James Harden, Chris Paul sending him to OKC.
Yeah, you're right.
Russell
Yeah, it
Westbrook,
worked out
you
for
know,
him, but the
yeah.
the Westbrook thing before the Harden thing kind of caught me off guard a little bit because when there was a story that came out, and again, I'm sure there's a lot more to this, but when Westbrook got COVID, he essentially mentioned that the way Houston treated him during that, during the diagnosis, which came around the time where they were going to training camp, supposed to go back to the bubble, he said that the way that they handled that situation was so poor that he essentially made up his mind before the season was over, like, hey, I've got to get up out of here.
Gotcha. How do we feel about the Lakers, though? I mean,
just got
LeBron, I
Drummond.
think it's a temporary injury. I'm concerned about AD being healthy by the playoffs and meaningfully healthy. And now I guess they may add Drummond. What is everyone's thoughts on the Lakers, how strong they're going to be in the playoffs, and what we can expect? Daryl, why don't you start?
If they're healthy, then you give them their chance. Drummond is a big piece because it allows AD to do what he want to do. But it's hard to bet against LeBron and AD.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am concerned about the AD injury only because anytime you reference Achilles, whether it's soreness, whether it's a pull, whatever it is, I think about the Kevin Durant thing, and
For sure.
I don't know if you guys remember Mike Conley 2 or 3 years ago.
Oh,
He
yeah.
essentially sat 50 plus games with the same injury that AD had, and I almost think that with the LeBron thing this year, I mean, I know this sounds crazy to say because championship windows are so short, but AD is a guy you're going to have there for the next 5 to 7 years. If you have to essentially play the rest of this season without him to assure his long-term health going forward, I think it's a no-brainer because look at what happened at Golden State with Kevin Durant. They tried to rush him back. They misdiagnosed it, and then he ends up losing a year of his prime because or a year and a half, let's say, because of an injury like that. And I would hate to see that happen to a guy like AD.